everybody. Coming at you finally from out in the woods. And guess who's behind the camera?
Finally me.
Finally Nick. Nick's back. Heyo.
Heyo.
Alright, what we have today is I'm going to show you my Bushcraft Recliner multi-sack. Now you've heard of a multi-tool. This is a multi-sack because it does a bunch of different things. Now, the main thing it does is it's a Bushcraft recliner, or the evolution of one, as close as I can get it to being a recliner. Okay. Now, what we have here, I'll take my canteen off. All right.
You know, I was just thinking to myself,
Well,
I really could use a place to sit down and screw getting provisions out here.
That's right. All right. Now, what this is I got bungee cords. Okay. Now, can you see on the back there to where it's attached up on the top, and it's attached on the bottom. Now there's no kind of kidney belt for this sack, but what I have is a waist pack right here, and it's actually sitting on top of it. So what I'm doing is I'm taking advantage of this waist pack, and this is something that Nick and I have discovered recently that we're going to take more of a look at. Now the way this thing works is it crosses over. These are bungee cords. It's quite comfortable when I walk with it. It's pretty comfortable, and it won't flop around too bad because these things are crossed over. Now the way you get these off is you just put your arms through. Wait a minute, I got tangled up on my ferro rod. May have to take that off. And then you grab this, and then you pull it off. It's
just like taking a shirt off.
Yep, just like taking a shirt off.
As easy as that.
All right. Okay, so let's take a better look at it. You pretty much got a pack attached to this webbing. All right. So let's set that down. I've got my waist pack. This is something that's just an addition. This is something, I'm going to go ahead and talk about this real quick, that this is something that Nick and I have started carrying. And what this is this is a little pack you keep separate from your backpack. And this is handy for, you can put it on and carry it with you if you're hiking. And what it contains is a little bit of paracord and a poncho and a poncho liner. See, that way if you have to, if it rains, you've got the poncho, and then if you get cold, you got the poncho liner, and you could set this up as a ranger roll, or you could set it up as a shelter, or you could just wear it, and then you've got paracord for it. So if you're going to carry it in a separate kit like this. And Nick and I have got to where we're going to start carrying these so that we can just, once we get to camp, we can wear it on a hike. Okay. So let's unroll this thing here and take a look at it. We got some bungee cords here. Okay. I got it attached to one, and then I've got this one attached to three. Make more sense here in a minute. You just kind of roll them all off. Okay, there's three. All right. Down here on the bottom, we've got one attached to two. We're going to roll it off. This is attached to two. Roll them off. Alright, so let's put the bungee cord over there. Now what we have here, I'll shake all these leaves off in a minute. What we have here is if we unroll this, we have the contents that come out. Okay? And I have some good old trusty rope. Alright. And then I have this. Okay? This acts as my pack. Okay? Everything in there that I need to spend one night very comfortably, maybe with a little more food 2 nights. Alright? And what I do with this has everything that I need. It's even got my cook kit, it's got some food in there, it's got everything. So let's look in the top here. Let's pull this little sack out. Alright? And I'll show you about that in a minute. Now, the idea behind this thing, let's put this right here, put all this here. Let's pull this out. Set that up there. I don't think I'm going to need that. Where's that? And see, this is that kit I was telling you about. I found these on Amazon for $7 a piece. And what it is, it's not called a butt pack like those old Alice packs, the ones that I have on the H harness. This is something. It's a ACU. It's called Modular Lightweight Load Carrying Equipment Waist Pack. Molly 2. It's very handy, only $7. It's a very heavy duty piece of gear. Okay, so I have a poncho that I keep in it, and then a poncho liner. Alright, so let's set this stuff inside. Now, the way this sack is made, alright, this thing is sewn up. Now this is the bottom of it. Alright. Now if you'll notice the way the webbing is, it's double webbing with eyelets on each end. Alright. Now the way this is sewn is they're spaced in a certain way. You'll see that they're not even. And there's a science behind that. And the reason there is because of the way this thing hangs from a tree in the shape of a recliner. Same thing with the supports that go to these are right here. They're different lengths. You see this little pouch right here? Foot, knee, butt, head. Say that fast, Nick.
Foot, knee, butt, head.
Foot, knee, butt, head.
Butt head.
And what these are, more about these in a minute, okay? Now, basically with this thing, it's a very, very heavy duty canvas, okay? Now it opens up and the other side is just plain, all right? Now, there's somebody tells me it's pronounced grosgrain. It's spelled grosgrain, but there's some big stuff on the head end, and then there's some thinner stuff on the foot end, and that's how you can tell the difference, because the spacing is so close. That's the way this thing's designed. Now, what you could do if you had to in a pinch, you could run 2 poles through here and make a cot out of this thing, or you could cram it full of leaves and make a browse bed out of it. Or you could take your poncho liner, which you should always have, or blanket, and cram it inside and sleep in it like a sleeping bag. Okay? So that's where the multi-use part of it comes from. The fact that you put your gear in, roll it up, and it's a backpack, or it's a sleeping bag with that thing, or you can cram leaves in it, it's a browse bed, or you could run poles through it, make a cot out of it, or you could run rope through these eyelets and it's a bed on a rope, almost like a hammock. That's a 5th use. The 6th use is the Bushcraft recliner, and that's what I'm fixing to show you. Okay, so we're going to shake this thing off real good, and then I'm going to show you how to set it up. First thing we're going to do is you got to take rope and tie rope from tree to tree. So let's do that. Not everybody has trees, but I do. We're always in the woods, ain't we, Nick?
Mm-hmm.
Always deep in the woods, okay? Deep under the shady canopy. So, what you want to look for, you want to look for 4 trees. And a lot of times you're going to wind up with batches of trees like these. Like we got one here and multiple trees here. And then over here, we have multiple trees. Now, it would be nice if these trees were just a little bit farther apart. But sometimes you got to work with what you got to work with. But the trees need to be about 6 to 7 feet apart and 2 to 3 feet wide. Okay. Now we're going to set this thing up. This is a brand new deal. I've only set it up once, and when I set it up, the trees were too far apart. But I've toyed with this idea before. So what we're going to do is we're going to set this little jewel up here, and I'm going to start out with neck high. Okay, chin high. All right. So what we're going to do is I'm going to set this up like this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to tie, pull that tight. Now see, that's actually not high enough. That's why I like to use a taut line hitch, because I can move it up to however high I want to. I think I'm going to go eye level with this thing. Well, we're going downhill, so I'm going to about chin level. All right, now pull it as tight as you can get it. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to run around here and lock it down. And then I'm going to run to this tree.
Hopefully not the small one.
No, not this one. That one's in the way, but I ain't going to do nothing about it. So what I'm going to do with this one, let's see, you want to make it kind of level. So the best way to get this thing tied, I know everybody's talking about everybody talks about a trucker's hitch, but when you're going round and round and round trees, it's hard to do the trucker's hitch. I mean, it just makes a huge mess. So normally what I will do is I will go around twice. So let's Give that a pull and a push.
Whoop.
Alright.
I'm in the way.
Alright. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to this tree. Alright. Got a mess right here. Then I'm going to take this water rope. I may have too much rope. Alright, then I'm going to come around. Pull that out. Let's go around here. Shove this through. Alright, so now what I'm doing is I got a full loop around that tree right there so that it'll lock into place. And then I'm going to go to that other tree right here. Now that I have this, what I got to do is I got to try to eyeball everything. Let's try to eyeball it right there. Alright, what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw this on the ground and then give it a pull and a push. And then I wrap around, and that's a good way of getting tied around the tree. Reach down and grab it. Now what I just did, I'm going to go around the trees again to double the rope. And I'll explain why when we start setting it up. Alright, so what I've done now is I have rope going down through these trees. Alright, now you're going to understand in a minute why there's two ropes. Alright, and then whatever rope you have left over, you put on the top some way, shape, fashion, or form higher up at an angle. Okay? Alright, now let's go to these things. Take these off. Alright, now this is a little pouch that I made. Foot, knee, butt, and head. Okay? Butt, head. The kids are going to love that. Alright.
Where's Beavis?
Yeah, Beavis and Butthead. So what we're going to do with these is I'm going to pull these out. Now the way these work, let's see, open up the old pocket here. Now these things attach to the rope. Alright. So what we're going to do.
And the ground.
And the ground. Now what these are, these are pre-made lengths. Alright. Let's see. I already got this entangled up. These are pre-made lengths. Okay. And that's the reason why they're labeled in the separate pouches. Now they may or may not work, the length. But what I did is I figured it out on paper. I measured the height of a lazy boy recliner from the floor, and then I gave myself a figure from the top to subtract to, and that's how I came up with all these lengths. Okay. Now rather than put this on here and allow it to slide around, what I've done is what I'm going to do is use a lark's head. Okay, you put a lark's head on here, and that's just where you drop it through. It's kind of like a half a prusik knot. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this here like that, and I'm not going to pull down real tight on it because I've set it after I have the thing on. Alright, so put this on here. Alright, okay, there's the first two. That's going to be the head end. So now what we're going to do is we're going to pull out the butt end. You'll see the butt end is much longer. Now these measurements, this may or may not work, I don't know. Like I said, I've only tested this one time and it didn't work out too well because the trees were too far apart. Right. Now these ain't normal carabiners. These are heavy duty solid steel carabiners. They'll hold up a little bit of weight. Alright, so now what I'm going to do now is if I put every single carabiner on one rope, it would pull down. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to alternate. I'm going to put one on this rope, one on this rope, one on this rope, one on the other rope. Alright, that way hopefully the rope sag, because the rope sag won't be as bad, because no matter how tight you pull that rope, it's going to sag. Even if you use a trucker's hitch, it's going to sag. Alright, so now I'm on this opposing one here. Pull that down. Alright. I'm just showing the whole process so you can kind of understand in case you ever want to build one of these yourself. Alright, got it labeled. Knee in. Alright. So now what I'm going to do is put this on. Now I'm going back to the original rope right here. I'm going to put the knee end on. Alright, just kind of lightly do that so that it'll move around.
So your knee end goes with the head end.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the knee end is back under here. So I'm going opposite here. Yeah. And maybe if you had some bigger, heavier rope or something. See, this rope's pretty loose, but it'll serve the purposes here because I don't even know if these lengths are right or not. And here's the last one. Put that in there. And they're all different lengths. When you go to pack it up, you need to put them back in to where they go. Alright, so now we're going over to this other one for the final one. Put it on. Alright, so we have 4 of them. Right there. Another thing you can do is if it sags too bad, you can tie paracord in the middle and tie it up a little bit higher to a tree for some support. Sometimes that helps. Alright, so let's get the bag and set it up. Alright, now we're ready for this part. Okay, so I picked it up and shook it off. Now if I remember right, remember I told you the difference between the ribbon at the top. This is the head end because it's bigger. Alright. Now the webbing goes underneath the bed. So what you do with the webbing is the way you put it on is you'll pinch it up, and that's how you drop it into the carabiner. So let's pinch this up, drop it in. Alright, let's take this other end. I hope it ain't too low to the ground. Pinch that up, set it on the carabiner. Take this other end, pinch this up. Just like that. Set it in the carabiner. Then this end. Pinch it up. Put it in the carabiner. Just like that. Pull it over here.
Just like that, you got yourself one nice wall right now.
Just like that.
Just like that.
Pinch that up. Set the carabiner. And I got this other one behind me. Pinch that up. And then you just keep on going down through here, just like that. Like that. And like that. And then you want to adjust everything. You want to scoot everything around to level it out. Once you think you've got everything leveled out, you'll give everything a little bit of a pull to lock it down. And that locks and knocks down, keeps them from moving around. Alright, cut it off. Alright, Nick, you giving them a basic overview of it before I get in?
Right.
Alright. So now before I set in it, here's the thing about this, okay? This is very low to the ground, and when I set in it, it's liable to go down to the ground. But that can be cured, okay? Depending on the trees you find, if these are further apart, it'll hold it up better. If these are up higher, it works better. But it's hard to get them real tight the higher they are over their head. When they're already this high, it's kind of hard to get it overhead. Now another thing that I may do in the future, and I'm thinking I'm going to do it from looking at it now, because like I said, this is the second time I've ever set it up, and the first time the trees just wasn't right. But I think I'm going to make all these about 3 inches shorter. All right. So now the other things, carry the bungee cords with you. So what you can do with them is you can set them somewhere. That's where you can hang your machete for the night. Alright. That way it's up off the ground somewhere. Take your water canteen. You can hang it somewhere for the night. Put it down here. Alright. What happened?
Good job.
Oh, the whole thing fell out.
Gold star.
Gold star. Things happen.
Let's go over here again.
Yeah, come on over
Ropes
there.
are all over there.
I'm fixing to sit in it. Maybe that'll be the one failure for the day.
Well,
There we go.
it might hit the
hold of
ground.
that last one. All right, so are we ready for the big moment?
Yes.
Now this is
get
gonna
to a better
sag.
view again.
This is gonna sag, okay? But anyway, you'll see the idea behind here that if both of these was on the same one, they would sag the same amount. But I got a lot of weight on this one pulling down and weight on this one pulling down. Okay? To my mind, that's how you disperse the weight between the two ropes. So you grab both ropes. Alright, sit your butt down and hope that this supports your weight for just a minute. Alright. And then put your feet in. Oh. And there we go. And see, my butt is down lower. Hey, I ain't touching the ground. See, that'll work right there. So there's
Just
a little bit of
barely
room.
not touching.
Yep. I think if I make these 2 to 3 inches shorter, I think that'll be perfect. Absolutely perfect. And see, my knee area up here is being supported. Now, if you'll look down through here, can you see the difference in the height of the carabiners?
Yeah.
That's how the difference.
You really see it with the bottom.
Huh?
You really see it with the bottom.
Okay. And see, the back is up nice. And these just happen to land perfect that I can put my arms right there. See this right here where these landed, the length of them? I kind of guesstimated the length on these from the knee area, from the foot area, I was on the end, to the knee area, to this thing. See, it just happens to be that I can put my hands right here. I wonder if I can get some rocking action going. I see you could rock in here like this if you wanted to. Isn't that cool?
I think that little incline there is affecting it, but
It is a little bit.
yeah, back and forth you can go.
And see, something else that I can do is like on the ends, I'll take 2 inches off. But on these, I take 3 inches off to compensate for rope sag. Because this is not quite supporting my knees like I want it to. But I think this is pretty good right here. I definitely.
Now, you might not be able to get into it if it's too high, though.
Yeah, I may not.
But
that's why I'm talking about just 2 inches to begin with. But I can change it. All right, one other thing let's look at. Now let's see if I can get out of here. Just pull your feet out and stand up. All right, that's pretty cool. That's pretty neat. Now the other thing, let's see. Take a look at this. Now, I've got some paracord in here that I carried in my waist pack. Now, if I wanted to, I could have a blanket that I could cover up with at night. Throw that in there. I could either cover up with it or, as a matter of fact, you got to remember something. This thing's tubular. I could slide the insulation inside here if I didn't want to cover up with it, and it would make it extra thick. So now in the meantime, the other idea for this is the way I had that done. Let's see what this poncho does. You got to have your rain equipment. Let me unsnap it. I don't know why it snapped.
Remember, you don't want to bring an actual tarp. You want to bring a rain poncho so it's got that hole in the middle where your head goes.
No, you tie that off, Nick. Haven't I taught you anything?
I don't know.
Alright.
Perfect.
Perfect.
Almost.
Well, it's not supposed to rain for a week, so I'm not even going to bother tying this off. But if you tie this thing off right here, and you can see how I now have a roof overhead. Let me go on the other side and pull it around. See, that's where the paracord comes in handy. And there you go. How's that?
Good.
Now that is a home away from home. What do you think, Nick?
It's cozy.
You like it? Man, sleeping in a lap of luxury. Let's see. Pull this thing up. Put it right over there. You can have a nice blanket like that. Or you can cover up with it.
Now, do I get room service while I'm sleeping in this?
No, you don't.
Oh, man.
See, all you need now is we need to cut us off a stick and set it right here to have a little nightstand for your coffee. You know it? And you can hang a light from up underneath right here. So there is your Bushcraft recliner. All right. Ain't that neat, Nick?
Neat.
Cool, ain't it? All right, so that is the Bushcraft recliner. And as you can see now, the sun is starting to come through the trees and screw up the filming. But anyway, this is it. This is the second time I've set it up, and it's a miracle that, you know, the first time the trees were too far apart, so it sagged, so I didn't get a good indication of the length of the paracord that I'd used. But I think it's a good system. I think it's going to be an organized system. It's definitely multi-use because of the design of how it's sewn, the tubular design and the webbing. And all I got to do probably is shorten that paracord, and this thing's going to be perfect. And in the future, I don't know, I like carrying a poncho, but in the future I may or may not just make a dedicated tarp for this thing. But the poncho, you know, with the paracord, I can just tie off the ends of it, and it's no problem. So, anything you want to add, Nick?
If you had a poncho, you'd have grommets that you can actually tie it off with, but
Yeah.
you don't have that with this tarp here.
Well, there's grommets on each end. Well, there is one in the middle. See?
Oh, how about that?
Okay. Yeah. There's one in the middle and two on the ends.
Learn
That
something
way.
every day.
Yeah, that way. Nick's not a poncho kind of guy. He just recently has gotten into it. He loves his tarps. But anyway, yeah, that thing right there, there ain't no problem with that. So, all right, we're closing. We're done. We're fixing to go cook. We're not going to film that.
He's going to cook. I'm going to kick back on this fancy recliner here. This 5-star right here. You don't get anything like this anywhere else.
Five-star hotel living. All right. We hope you enjoyed it. Hope you had fun. This is a big success as far as I'm concerned. And we shall see you in the next one.